All right, Tommy.
Yeah.
Happy February 29th, leap year.
A little extra day. Got an extra day to do a Zoom here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Welcome to Take a Breath. It is mine and Tom's favorite podcast where we talk about the challenges of building businesses, building life, and everything in between. How to balance that between being successful professionally and personally. Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Joey?
I'm doing well. I can't
Uh,
complain. Uh,
yeah. Sun is shining and yeah, it's 2024's kicking off. All right. We're doing all right here.
it's
Busy
leap.
days. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
leap year, which is
Yeah.
cool. Got an extra day this year to make it happen,
Right.
and just like that, just create an extra day. It's kind of weird, actually.
It is cool.
Um,
Hattie was her birthday was a couple days ago. We were kind of hoping she was born on a leap year or the 29th. That'd be
my
kind of neat.
buddy's my
Yeah.
buddy's daughter is born at 11:45 on February 28th.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
he has a friend that was
Yeah.
born on the 29th, and their birthday. I think it's a woman. She's like, yeah, I'm only 10.
I'm 10. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
right.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's get into it. So I actually just added this one into the doc, and maybe this is just me. I'm middle aged now, and maybe this is just me being like a middle aged dad. But like, I find it, I don't know whether it's annoying or disrespectful, and maybe I'm looking into this too much. But when you're talking to a prospect, and they refuse to schedule a call, but they call you out of the blue and they expect you to talk to them. Or, hey, Joe, it's so and so. I've been trying to get, for me, forget about the call. I've been trying to get in front of someone. I send them emails. I leave them voicemails. I send them even videos. And I said, hey, let's get together at either this date at this time or this date at this time. If that doesn't work, let me know. And
Right,
instead of getting back to me, they'll call me in an hour, leave me a voicemail, and just be like, Joe, call me.
right. Yeah,
Am I the kind
those call me's, those urgent call me's I never like. Call me, like yeah,
Well, that, or hey, this so and so,
yeah,
call me when you get a chance. Like,
right,
dude, I'm trying to schedule a meeting to have an intelligent conversation.
right.
Am I looking into this too much?
No, you and I, we grew up with similar philosophies around selling and developing business, and it's always been chance favors the prepared.
Absolutely.
And if it's you can't be on your A game every second of the day, but when you schedule, and I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, actually, I missed a call this earlier this week because somebody forgot to send me the invite and they were texting me at 10 a.m. saying, are we still on? I'm like, I never got an invite. So it wasn't on my calendar. And so I was on another call.
Right.
So my point is that you and I, we want to put our A game, best game in front of everybody. And we can do that if we're prepared. And that's why you schedule calls. I mean, there's support calls and somebody that needs something right away, they can call you, obviously.
There's always
Um,
exceptions. I don't
yeah,
want to sound that crazy, but
right,
just knowing that the conversation I want to have is to advance something forward. I don't want
right.
that to be on a whim.
Right. And
And
I
as
love, yeah, I love having a list of
yeah,
questions and even questions that I send out ahead of time
yes.
so that if I don't know the answer or if it's something, really rich or deep or techy, we want to have those answers for especially a prospect. We want to make that first dance, nice.
You actually make a better use of both of your time.
Everybody's time.
So that's what I'm
Everybody's
getting
time.
to.
Yeah, yeah,
You're showing them respect
yeah.
by preparing and by using their time the best way possible. When somebody calls me and out of nowhere, they're not
Right.
showing me that's not reciprocity. They're not showing me that same respect.
And
That tells me,
you can't give them your everything.
yeah,
Because if somebody calls you and you and sometimes you pick up, and shame on me, sometimes I do pick up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have because I'm focused on three other things. So you aren't giving them your full attention. if you schedule a call and everything and you're prepared for the call and you've got your questions out there, you can give them your full 45 minutes. You can give them your best,
It's
you know.
respectful. It's
Yeah.
respectful. And how many times, I mean, when we were in our CRM world, I guess this still happens to us even in Merge Analytics, but like, you're like, you know what? I'm going to answer the phone. And then
Yeah.
you answer the phone,
Yeah.
and then it's a conference room full of people. Joe, is this a good time to talk? I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess so. They're like,
Right,
great.
right.
We have this one, and this one in the
Uh,
room. And
I've done that before. Like the video goes on and there's like 15 people around a table. I'm like, okay, well, let me comb my hair here,
they're like, hey, we're
uh,
looking at your
uh,
competitor, and they do this. What do you think? I'm
yeah,
like, come on,
yeah,
send me
yeah,
something ahead of time. So
right.
anyway,
So that happened to you, I guess, recently. That just kind
it
of, yeah,
did.
yeah,
And it was someone that I actually really respect, someone who's actually been
yeah,
good to me. So,
right,
but it's their style. And I thought a lot about it last night. I'm like,
right.
maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just being, but like,
No,
I
it's
mean, we
funny
just
because
work.
fool me once that there are personalities out there that they just have they spin off a sense of urgency constantly. It's like call me, like, and you do that two or three times, then it becomes noise to me because if it's not urgent or I don't know what you need, then you're putting me, at unrest, and I'm getting nervous or I got to call back or you're disrupting my day. And if you keep doing that, then it just becomes noise. It's the boy who cried wolf. You can't put that sense of urgency out there all the time, especially if it's not that important, So
And
and
the
that
only,
and that goes back to training our prospects and users. I know you
well,
had that on
that,
top.
and then we could put a bow on this, but
Yeah,
it might also be like a generational thing too. And that's not
true.
acceptable though.
Instant gratification,
No, but
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
certain
yeah,
age of person
yeah.
that this is how they've done business their whole career. They
Right,
don't think anything of it. But
right.
that's like, you can't evolve. You can't be like, you know what, people don't work like this anymore. I don't know. No, and certain industries are worse than others.
Exactly. It depends on what product, what service, what industry.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. Some things are right away or warrant a call right away and this and that. But it hasn't been our environment for our career or as long as we've known.
And
Yeah.
just the type of thing that we're selling. Like, it's not
Right.
something that we could, and just again, though, there are always exceptions to rules, but I mean, and the other thing is, if you're gonna do that, and then we'll put a bow on this.
Right.
I meant
Right.
to
Yeah.
say this
All right.
earlier.
Right.
If you leave a voicemail, if you're gonna call somebody out of the blue, and leave a descriptive
Yeah.
voicemail. The
Yeah.
voicemail I got from this person was, "Hey Joe, call me back."
Call me. Call me as soon as you can. Call me as soon as you can. I'm
Like,
like,
what?
all right.
Okay, maybe there's something important that I could look up before I call.
Right.
Like, "Hey Joe,
Right.
I have a specific question about," or,
Right.
"Hey, just help me.
Yeah.
Help me," as Tom Cruise said, "Help me help you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are, and there are, practices and seminars about how to leave a proper voicemail,
Absolutely.
and on both sides. If I'm selling something or if I'm calling into a prospect, I want to leave a proper voicemail so that the person receiving it understands it knows how to react, wants to react, maybe doesn't want to react. That's important, how to leave a voicemail. That's a whole nother,
Well,
a podcast, dude. Yeah,
that's a podcast or even a
yeah,
blog, but
yeah,
you're right, especially today
yeah.
when the younger generation really doesn't have those types of skills because they do so much texting and
Right,
videos and everything. They don't, like, when you actually have to speak to someone live. They're
right.
like, like,
Yeah,
much more than we were.
yeah,
Um, Anyway, okay, that was a good one. Yeah, there's a lot we got here. Okay, in person versus Zoom.
right,
Again, it so much depends upon what you're selling. Um,
right,
but you and I are software guys, and we, built two businesses with very little investment. So, like, we really had to watch travel expenses and
right,
everything. It is what it is. So we've relied heavily on these types of meetings on Zoom. But you and I looked at like our best, longest customers,
right,
and there's undoubtedly a correlation between the ones that we have physical in-person relationships with
right,
versus others. And here's why it's important. Okay. And again, it always depends upon what you're selling. Like
Right.
I'm not gonna quickly. Well, actually, very less than you think. But what happens when like let's say somebody loves your product, they use it forever or a year or two, and because they've never met you in person, canceling that product is much easier than if they have a personal relationship. Well, canceling whatever service you're selling, they will give less thought into canceling it if they don't have a relationship with you. They're not going to care. They're like, who cares?
Right.
I don't know these
And
guys.
let's clarify that, because I mean, our product, if they're canceling it, they may not see value. They should be canceling it if they don't see value. But those that cancel that don't have the relationship don't follow up and ask that if they're using it to the full its potential. They may be missing things. They may
Absolutely.
not even know that the product does this. And then the value that they're looking for was in front of them, and they canceled it because they just didn't know who we were.
I mean, and
Yeah,
how many,
yeah,
the only time we've had cancellations,
yeah,
and luckily there've only been a couple, but the only times this year that we've had cancellations are people when our main contact leaves the company and somebody else fills their shoes and they're like, I don't know these guys. Let's cancel it.
right,
I don't use it.
right.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Or like somebody says, "Hey, this stinks," and then as soon as I get that, I'm like, I call them right away. I'm the one that call them, and I'm saying, "What? Let me show you how to do it this way." And two things happen there. Usually, the light bulb goes off, and they say, "Thank you, Tom. I didn't know how to do it." And then what do you and I do right after? We create an educational video.
always.
Because that tells us that if there's one, there's five. If there's one, there's 50. And that
There's
really.
never one cockroach.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, you're right. I mean, back to like in person versus Zoom.
Yes.
The networking events are so important. There's that social cluster that you're in that, and then it's so in like a networking event, the like-mindedness, you cross that trusting threshold so much faster. You start connecting the dots, you start talking about people, you start really getting to know somebody faster in that 3D world. Zooms are great, but I'm talking to one person, I got an hour here, an hour here. I can, and also networking events, I can talk to five people in 45 minutes and feel like I really know them, and then I go back to another networking event, and then you start really building these solid, real relationships. They're real relationships.
They
Yeah.
are because there's subconscious chemical exchange that you get when you're in person that you
Yeah.
don't get over Zoom. And also just again, I always forget who said it, but 90% of success is showing up. Like I was telling you a story yesterday. I'm in a professional networking group. I've been giving variations of the same pitch now for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yesterday, a person I sit next to literally every week was like, I got an architect I'm going to introduce you to, and
Yeah.
that I've been working with for years. And it just sometimes it takes that long, first of all, for your message to sink in. But
Right.
when you keep showing up and you keep, that tells people something about you. If you show up
Yeah.
to the networking event that people know you drove 2 hours away for and you do it every quarter, it tells people, this guy Tom's cool, he shows up and I trust him type of thing, more so than if you just give a Zoom for a half hour and
Every marketing consultant right now listening to what you just said is like, yes, thank
yeah,
you, Joe, for saying that, because it takes time marketing and creating a brand and having people trust who you are, meaning trust your product and your services. It takes time.
yeah.
It takes time because we're here. We've been here X amount of years. We're not going anywhere. We've serviced our clients. Like, and then what happens, that trust level starts to organically grow. Then the word of mouth starts to spill over. Then you've got then your like-minded, social clusters become bigger and bigger. And that's fun ride. And that's
And
kind of
then
what we're
you
excited. Yeah.
sprinkle in the
Yeah.
videos and the branding, and
Yeah.
because they see you in person, and then they go on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh
They're
my
like,
God,
oh, I got it.
I
Yeah.
know
And
that
then
guy."
they start associating even like the colors and the imagery and the graphics. Like it, and guess what, everyone? It doesn't happen overnight.
No,
It just, what's your famous saying? Overnight success
take
takes 10 years,
6 10 years. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's the same variation of if you want to be good at anything, it takes 10,000 hours.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
In
Yep.
Hollywood, that's what they say in Hollywood that overnight success takes
Yeah.
a minimum of 10 years.
But yeah,
Um,
the networking event, yeah, we're post COVID, obviously for a while. The networking events have such value, and
yes,
I had just gone. I started going back to some of S&PS's networking events, and it's been a while since I've seen some of these familiar faces, and it was just great. It just felt good to see everybody again. I felt like I've been away for so long, and I got to meet some new people, and I really connected the dots with some new people right away, and it was fun. It was a natural, fun energy that will translate to working with somebody down the road sometime,
absolutely.
and that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good. Next topic I have on the dock. So the idea, like you got your Steve Jobses and Elon Musk's and all these types of people who are driving, big initiatives. I mean, just huge. Like I can't even wrap my brain around it. But the idea of when, like you and me, even on a much smaller scale, can you grow a business by being nice? And can you do it without being an asshole? And I forget where I saw it. I watched so many podcasts, I listened to so many podcasts, but there, like when you talk about like Steve Jobs is an asshole. Let's talk about
Right.
Elon Musk.
I think part of him thought he should be in a way, but go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the more I mean, I've read his biography, and he regretted it right before he
I
died.
know I mean, if you read his dying words, a lot of his words stick to are stuck in my head, but he did regret it. Yeah, but anyway,
But
go ahead.
there's a difference. Like you could be an asshole,
Right.
but are you being that way because you have a big vision and whatever's being brought to you is not good enough, or are you just being an asshole?
Right.
So you're an asshole both ways, but you know, one comes from I'm trying to do something amazing here, all right, and you're either with me or you're not, and then the other one is you just like you just you're just not a nice person.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
you and I mean, we're business development guys, we're sales guys. It's in our nature to want people to like us,
true.
because if they like you, then the trust begins, then the relationship begins, and everyone knows that's not an easy task too, to be nice or want to be liked by everybody, to try to get in front of people. There's always a way to communicate, and it doesn't always have to um by being an asshole. I mean, that's a fact. But I do believe that that certain circumstances warrant a firm but fair response or attitude, and that is not you or me being an asshole. It's typically setting firm expectations so that we don't get burned in the future, and it's a respect thing too.
It is.
So yeah, so it's tough because you and I, again, we want to be liked, we want to come across as being the nice guy, but the fact is if you're just circumventing certain issues to be nice, you're not being fair to yourself or your prospect or customer. You're just
Absolutely.
not. Firm but fair. I'm a
Firm but fair.
I respect people that are firm and straight with me. That's why I love IT guys, man. They're logical. They don't
Literal.
they're literal. They've got tough skin. They take orders. They just want to they want to understand what they need to do next.
Not just
And
IT. It's actually, I think you're talking about
yeah,
software developers.
software developers, yeah,
Yeah.
developers, yeah, yeah. But again, what's my point? You can be somebody. You have to understand your situation throughout the day, multiple times in a day, how to react to the person on the other side.
Yeah.
And if you react properly, and you never have to be an asshole, but if you react properly, nice, firm, but fair, tough, get done. If you know who you're talking to, then you're going to move things forward, and everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
That's a lot, that's a lot of information there. But it's funny because you and I wear so many different hats internally every day, but you got to know who your audience is and how to talk to them.
Tommy, you and I talked about something a little bit, and you think that every kid at some point before they go out into the real world should wait tables, live paycheck by paycheck, be an entrepreneur on some level. Why do you think that's important?
Well, I waited tables, bartended for years. I think that everyone should wait tables and sell something. It really hones in on some skills that we just talked about. Like
Absolutely.
if you're waiting on a table, whether you're in a bad mood or you're frustrated or your customers aren't being nice, if you're not communicating them in a way that everyone's satisfied with this transaction, then you both lose. The customer's unhappy, they don't come back, I don't get a tip. I don't pay rent. So to learn that front end style is really important because you're not always going to be in a good mood, but you can put that face on and communicate to your customers, and you can transactionally have a good experience. And that's what the restaurant industry is all about. It's about experience, sitting down and having that experience. But you will also learn about the back end because as a waiter, I can come up and the food can be late and all this. But guess what? It's not my fault. It's the cook in the back that's not showing up, or the dishwasher. So you start learning about how things in the back end translate to the experience on the front end.
Like
And it's
us having a
like,
developer in the back end
absolutely,
and
yeah.
us having to talk to the
It's
customer.
very, it's so parallel. It's so parallel where things that are moving smoothly here move smoothly down to the overall experience. And man, I mean that is valuable experience, waiting tables, and you're also present. You're inside chaos, or we called it in the weeds, and you don't have time to think. You're reacting, you're doing, and you're accomplishing what you need to do to create an overall experience. And that gives you like tools to manage things. I don't love multitasking, but you can manage things in a chaotic order. And that's valuable experience too. Yeah.
It teaches
So
you how to
yeah,
listen to your audience,
exactly. Yeah.
you know.
Sales. Yep.
Right, but
Yeah.
like, you may be bringing something, but you bring it and be like, I told you I'm lactose intolerant, all the cheese. Like, you got to listen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it teaches you all sorts of things. It teaches you, days you don't feel well and you still have to perform.
Right.
You still have to talk to customers. Feedback we talked about.
I mean, and as a customer going out, I mean, I have a respect for that side. Like if something's going wrong, whatever, I'm not gonna get too upset. Like I know what's inside, and if why things are either going well or not. It's good to kind of just know that. So yeah, I
Well,
mean, yeah, go ahead.
I can't stand, like, I I learn everything I need to know about someone, how they treat their waiters and waitresses,
Yeah,
or a taxi driver,
right.
or a cleaning person. Like, I like if you're nasty to a waiter or waitress, like you know,
Right.
first of all,
I feel
not
bad
the
for
I feel bad, but not the greatest
them.
move. Like somebody's
Yeah.
handling your food and you're
No,
nasty to them. Like I
absolutely.
never
No.
understand that. Yeah,
Yeah, well, you saw the movie Waiting, right?
I did. I mean,
Oh my
there's other
gosh. The
movies.
goat. Yeah.
I'm thinking of Road Trip when he's like, "Can I have
Uh,
some more
yeah. Yeah.
syrup?" And he's like, "Sure." That was a
Yeah.
racist.
Yeah. You don't want to be, you don't want to be nasty to your waitress or waiter, like,
No.
but yeah, so waiting tables and even like some level of sales. I think the tools that are developed out of certain jobs like that. I'm not saying you have to do wait tables, but certain jobs similar to sales and waiting tables. You develop survival tools that you can take with you. Plus, it's kind of nice if you're in between jobs and you can always pick up a shift here and there. It's kind of nice to have that behind your belt too.
true,
Yeah,
true. Anyway, we're coming to the end.
yeah,
We didn't talk about you weren't able to make it, but the podcast we had with Zach Reisler,
yeah. That was good. That was
a lot
great.
of good
Good,
feedback.
really sharp
And
kid, man. Wow. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the main point on that one for me, I mean, Zach Reisler is an entrepreneur. He's 18 years old. He's a senior in high school. He's already started a bunch of businesses, and he has decided that whether it's just a gap year or maybe he's never going to go, but he's decided to travel the world and work for the company he's working for and not go to college next year. He makes good money, and he's not sure if college is for him. And the what I what I wanted to the message that I was trying to convey, because I've gotten in some debates with people like, "Oh my God, you're against college." Like, no, I never said that. All I'm saying is that there is more than one path to success. There's more than one path to network. There's more than one path to learn skills. And I think it's important that there's not just one path, because if there's just one path, you get taken advantage of. Prices go up, the value goes down, and when there's more competition, which we live in a capitalism here, when there is competition to college, I believe the pricing will come down, and I think the
I agree.
quality of education will go up.
Right.
So
I agree. I really admire him, and I mean, he is wise beyond his years, and I believe in gap years. I really
yes,
do. I mean, if my kids aren't like focused on something, I think a gap year and getting out there and working for a year, it would be so value add. And I just wrote down this because I was thinking about that podcast when I saw this stat the other day, and I was my jaw dropped a little bit, but 52% of college grads today are working minimum wage jobs. 52%.
of
So
college graduates.
of college graduates are working like minimum wage jobs. So they're not working like professional jobs. So think about that when you start wrapping around the massive college debt. Like it's when I think about kids getting out of college now, I get anxiety, because I know they've got all this load of college debt and they're like behind the eight ball before they even get started. So
Terrible.
they can't even focus properly, on their next move. And shame on the whole system. Like the system failed the kids the last decade with higher ed. I believe that.
I
And
agree with you.
yeah, so moving forward, and you and I have younger kids. I
Yeah,
think we're going to be a little wiser to the to the business of higher ed. And
absolutely. And if you have young kids, I mean, I, I, I always give better advice than I follow myself, but I think most people do. But you know, the idea of plumbers, electricians, welders,
right.
real skills, even if that's not what they do for a career, it's just good to know real things, not just how to find videos on TikTok.
Well, tech
Um,
schools are making their comeback, and
they
guess
are.
what? Universities are buying the tech schools. because
Oh, well, yeah,
that's
of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
it's so good. All the money feeds in somewhere. But yeah, I like the philosophy because I think that if the stats sake more people are resisting or not going to college or even college right after high school, prices will go down. The quality of education is going to go up. I think that it would be a fantastic graph, over time.
I use the analogy when Howard Stern went from regular radio to Sirius satellite radio. I was one of them before he made the move, but I was
Right,
like, I'm never going to pay for radio. Who the hell would pay? You get it for free,
right,
right? But then he made the move, and I wanted to listen to him, and I paid for it, and now I still pay for it. Actually,
right,
I listen to Spotify for free, but still, he legitimized that new model. And so what has to happen, and it's already happening, Elon Musk talks about it all the time. Like he doesn't care if you've gone to Stanford. He gives you
right, right.
he gives you his own test, whether you've
Yeah,
gone to one of my best buddies, is a managing director at a bank. Uh, and he didn't go to college. He's younger than both of us.
right, right.
He didn't go to college. Like it happens.
Well, I think
And
what should happen too, you got me thinking here, is those large corporations should invest in their young talent and
right.
educate them. Send them, like they should have universities,
There it
and
is.
that's
That's what I
probably
was
gonna,
starting to say
yeah,
with that's what Elon Musk does. But if
yeah,
Google and Microsoft and
yeah,
Apple, like if they come out and say, we don't care if you went to Stanford or MIT, we
right,
don't care. We
right,
don't care if you went to college. Come to us. We're going to give you
yeah,
some exams. If we think that you're the right fit, we'll hire you. And by the way, even if you went to MIT and Stanford, we're going to still give you those exams. And if you don't
right.
do well, we're not going to hire you.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
and we have
let's
professors on staff. That'd be actually a good idea. But anyway,
it
good,
would
good
be.
stuff.
Let's do
Yeah.
some recommendations. I'll start. I
Okay.
am reading an excellent book by Herman Hesse, Hesse, called Siddhartha, and it is a really great book about a guy in the I guess probably in the Middle East somewhere a long time ago, and how he had everything, and then he wanted to become enlightened and met the Buddha, and then traveled the world and met a woman, and then started his life and got all these riches, and then he was unhappy because he had forgotten everything that the Buddha taught him. And I'm not done with the book yet, but I'm almost
Right.
done. But it's fantastic, and
Nice. Right.
it's very relevant for struggles today to modern society. But go ahead, Tom.
Nice. I don't have anything specific. Just take your meds. And when I
Yes,
say take your meds, I mean meditate,
ah,
exercise, focus on your diet, and get good sleep.
I love
Take
that.
your meds. And I've been really trying to do that here in 2024, and just trying to ramp up that energy. And yeah, you just got to keep taking your meds.
Take a breath too.
Yeah, take a breath.
That's
Well, there
meditating.
you,
But yes.
yeah,
All
awesome.
right, man. Good stuff today. Oh, as always, and keep on keeping it on.
See you, Joey.
All right, man.